Hello, hello, hello. Here we
Hi,
are. Better late than never.
Yeah.
Few minutes late. Just getting organized. Lots to do. Had a great meeting this morning. How's everybody feeling? Hi, Leo and Ricky. Tarot by Lupo. Lovely to see the great gang.
Suzanne. Hi, everyone.
Yeah.
A couple of questions coming up already.
You want to start with the
I can
first
put a
question
up. Do you have any thoughts, Mama?
Um,
Any wisdom to lay on us?
Yeah, just maybe thinking a little bit about what came up in the live forecast for the week this week. Let's put this up into picture camera here. There we go. What came up in the forecast and was a lot about holding the line. Funny, I was holding that card when I said it, with our frequency and resting, almost like gathering our strength inwardly, because we don't realize how much we're doing, how much we're transmuting, which takes our energy. And you'll notice that you're doing a good job of transmuting when your frequency starts to naturally sort of bubble up again to feeling good. And you'll know that you're needing more rest. And being very gentle with yourself when you start to go down into anxiety, into like feeling overwhelmed or feeling depressed, discouraged, different physical symptoms that are uncomfortable. So it's literally, it's very common sense, right? If you're not feeling well, rest. And I think what's happening is that we are using the old system of analysis to determine the reasons why we're not feeling well. Like, well, why am I not feeling well? What did I eat something? Did something terrible happen? We're kind of going, why am I suddenly, I was fine yesterday or 4 hours ago, and now
or 5 minutes ago.
Or 5 minutes ago. And we're kind of going through the old analysis and nothing is lining up. We're like, well, this doesn't make sense. Why am I feeling so like not well all of a sudden? And it's almost like what I'm hearing, it's literally getting adjusted to a much more, I want to say, ongoing transitional frequency meter. And we're getting bumped lower without doing very much to bump ourselves lower, because we're literally clearing all of this. And instead of going down the old version of why is my energy down, or why am I anxious, or why am I suddenly feeling horrible or depressed or overwhelmed, or like, what's the use, take that as an immediate kind of signal that you're transmuting something, instead of saying, oh, I'm failing, things aren't working, the world's going to where in a handbasket, right? It's like, instead of making a story around it, just take time. Take time to care for yourself.
Well, that's a beautiful place to begin, and we definitely have some questions. Both of our first questions are in relevance to frequency, so that's beautiful. And I have our first question up here. Welcome, Linda, Andrea, and Celestial Emma. Okay, so
cards are so poppy today. I love it. They're popping. They feel happy.
Should they pop into my hands?
They should.
For a moment here. Okay, frequency of the earth right now.
So, frequency of my hands feels quite good. How are all of you feeling?
I see that Suzanne has been feeling completely exhausted in this past week. Kind of energy and not sleeping well, but in good spirits.
Good spirits is fantastic. And like I was saying, it's an invitation for us to recognize that we are there's a lot going on under the surface. We're literally doing soul retrieval, past life healing, interdimensional healing, ancestral healing, future generational frequency aligning. Like, we're just doing so much, but not to allow that to psych you out. Let it psych you up. Get psyched up, not psyched out. And notice how allowing yourself to not go into old patterns of retreat. It's interesting. We had this conversation a little bit earlier about the difference between going into rest and depressed versus going into, what was the other word I said? Going into rest and refreshed. So can we go into rest, downtime, self-care and nurturing, self-nurturing is what I'm hearing, without going into depressed? Can we go in and come out refreshed? That's the goal, really. So whatever you're doing in your self-care retreat, do it with that frequency of refreshing yourself. Think of it like you're refreshing yourself, is what I'm hearing.
Frequency of the earth right now.
Let's do 3 cards.
Okay.
Wow. Wow. Oh, look at the color. Look at the frequency. I mean, all that yellow.
Yeah.
Do you see all the yellow, everybody? I mean, bright.
Sun, solar plexus. It's interesting too, because it's very much this frequency that's really like 3D earth centered, since we're talking about the earth. And then there's this kind of like this uplift, sort of lightening and freeing kind of energy that is happening in the journey from being so sort of stuck in the frequency of the like 3D and the being just like on the hamster wheel and driving ourselves, and the earth kind of tuning in with those parts of us as well, right? Because this is the frequency of the earth that we're talking about, and yet this is very human feeling. And the path to get to the mastery of earth and humanity and that harmony of this physical world is undergoing like a whole new journey right now.
I mean, we have 2 major arcana, or sorry, not major arcana, 2 court cards here, both in the sign of Pentacles, which is the earth plane, as Crystal's mentioning. We have the Knight in the past, who is like, he's diligently working hard, but he may not really be at a masterful level. He's more at a like just learning apprenticeship level. The King is at a masterful level. So I feel like what we're doing, and I'm hearing the word metabolizing, when you think about when you take in food, it's like the raw material, or when we take in frequency in this 3D material plane, it's like what we get out of it. We used to say, when I was growing up and we had our prayers at dinner, it was like, let me put this food that I'm taking in and metabolizing to good use. So like, let me do something beautiful with it. So what we are metabolizing the frequency, the energies into something masterful here. And I feel like you asked about the frequency on the earth right now. This is beautiful. This is like as good as it gets in terms of earth plane frequency. And we are part of that. Our ability to metabolize the raw materials and turn them into something beautiful. We are frequency, I want to say, conductors. And so we are like Earth's conductor, frequency conductors. And so what we do, how we metabolize the frequency of Earth plane, which is how good is our microflora in our guts? How are we making use of the food? Is it making us healthy? Just before we came on, we were talking about some of our plants aren't thriving right now. And we're looking at what is it that we need to adjust in order to allow them to make the most use of the materials of water, air, sunshine,
Mhm.
nourishment,
Mhm.
earth, the elemental energies. So we have a huge role in this, Leo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
agreed. Love it. Okay. Thank you, Leo. We're going to go. Suzanne had a question here. Here we go. It said that the Phoenicians became the Vikings. So has the Viking crown that became the English crown been ruling the world for the past 1,500 years or so? So do they still have the power?
It's an interesting question. Right up my alley. Here, Crystal. Shuffle on
I don't know anything about that, so I'm going to let you tune into
great.
that. Yeah. Sometimes you just got to admit where you're at with those things. But I'd be happy to see what it says.
Okay, so let's look. Wow. The world. So, I really get this is it's global. I think that the Phoenicians, the Vikings, we're looking at a larger overall group. Yeah, I feel like there's a third one that is part of that. And on one hand, it feels like there's elite bloodlines that, have, like you said, been controlling the world. It's interesting because, like I'm getting that it's really been going on for a very, very long time. This is like groupings that have been about 20,000 years in the making is what I'm hearing. This is like a really, really old, like almost like the scattering of the different tribes was about 20,000 years ago. And these lineages were there's been a lot of weaving with them since then. Really in the last 300 years is when there's been very specific work. They've come together with this plan, with this agenda. But it's interesting because I'm also getting there's the good side of all of that.
Yeah.
Like there's the nefarious version and then there's the good version. So I believe there's been a lot of strong spiritual leaders and educators. And yeah, it's like we're basically wrestling the momentum out of the hands of the people who have utilized that power. You're talking about the crowns, the English crown. It's wrestling back the majority. It's almost like the guides are saying we always need a little bit of that contrasting disruptive energy just to keep the systems clear and evolving. Evolution needs a bit of contrast. Everything stagnates if there's no contrast. But we've got to get it back to 77%, which is that beautiful frequency of perfection. The harmonic frequency of love and perfection is 77%. So, yeah. And it's almost like the guides are saying, yeah, we'll leave them their 20%. Like, because, and I get what the feeling that many of you might have is like, we should just extinguish all of these dark force energies. We should just blast them right out of the planet and never let them back in. And, it just doesn't work that way. Like what I'm being shown is that it's necessary to have some, I want to say evil, but some energies that will attempt to create distortion and misalignment, because that keeps evolution happening.
Mhm.
That keeps us kind of on our toes. Look at how he's on his toes, literally keeping us on our toes, right? It's like we don't fall asleep at the job. So, but I really get the last 300 years, there's been extraordinary amount of work from the, the dark cabal, but also from what we would call the White Hat Alliance. There's been like, they're both sides have made very big gains. And, what I'm hearing is it is a frequency war. It is really about stealing our attention and then hijacking our intention to go in a direction that we might not even realize is what we've been kind of hoodwinked or tricked into wanting certain things. It's like, the American dream, the illusion of like whatever it is, material things are going to make you happy, all of that, right? And I'm not talking about the healthy version of the American dream. I'm talking about that fantasy of like, the Hollywood illusion, right? Like all that the material things are going to make you like a god. If you have all this accumulation of wealth, it's going to make you so happy and untouchable. And so, yeah, I feel like this is kind of the oldest game in town. And we do go through cycles with this, but we've been at similar nodes before in the cycle, but we've never been at this exact place, this exact moment in time. So I hope that kind of opened up more questions, Suzanne, but I hope that's helpful for you and for the rest of you.
Okay.
All
Is
right.
Canada still under the rule of King Charles? I wonder why there's no mention of him when Trump talks about Alberta becoming part of the U.S.
Wow, interesting.
That's a good call.
Yeah, and we're kind of also, we're in talking about the Crown of England. And yeah, I'm just interested how much under the rule of, because it's almost like I'm being shown, Charles being, we associate with the dark cabal. Yeah, isn't that interesting? He's definitely not a man. Show them the cards that you flew out
these
here.
ones just popped out. So the Empress and Temperance. It's almost like I get maybe the rule went when the Queen went. And that's when the deeper sort of healing and awakening really was able to come through.
And it feels like there's an older lineage that is coming forward.
The cards are popping around here. Okay. Focus, Crystal. One more little shuffle. Let's see what happens here. Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Crystal's just, the cards are flying. They can't see what you're doing there.
Well, I'm trying to hold them up too so they can see, because it's hard for me to lean all the way over here. Yeah, that's all right. I'll cut them into piles and you go ahead and put them back together.
Still under the rule of King Charles. So I'm going to put still under the rule of King Charles over here, or not under the rule of King Charles on this side.
Sure.
So still under the rule. Nope. That's a big old no. Look at that. 5 of Swords, defeat the Moon, and 9 of Swords. No. Like, no, that's done. That is done. Under the rule of someone else. Ooh, wow. Wow. Okay. Yeah, interesting. This is done. I don't know what Janine's been getting about this, but it feels like almost like they're not even there anymore. Look at that. And it's already done. It's been gone for quite a while, I'm getting. Like you said, since the the official date of
Yeah.
the departure of the queen. We've been
Mhm.
we're in a new system. I'm not really seeing necessarily a person ruling, as I am seeing, this to me feels like a system.
It feels to me like like there is money being moved around,
Mhm.
like, and like a recreating of contracts, like a whole bunch of systems went out, and there's
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, probably like a whole lot of energy moving in different directions,
Mhm.
and um a whole lot of like navigating people's upset, people's angst,
Anger.
people's anger, the fight over power. But it's almost even like, you know, people have things to say. People in power have things to say, and they
Mhm.
have ideas, and
The floodgates are definitely open
yeah,
with this card. Swiftness, it's
yeah,
energy moving, and it's stirring up all the old stuff. All
yeah.
the old stuff is going to get brought to the surface. We're going to see a gradual transition, which is, trust me, you want it
That's what we
that
want.
way.
Hmm.
Um, and it's almost like we're going to see a, this takes us into really determining what sort of leadership we want going forward. And I
Hmm.
feel like instead of kings, instead of presidents, instead of these elite bodies, governor generals, instead of, like the hierarchical system, can we have councils? Can we have councils of people?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
those councils,
Nice.
it's a little bit more like a traditional democracy, but it feels like there's a lot of work to be done on what constitutes, like, constitutional councils is what I'm hearing. It's based on, constitutional values, like a republic,
Yeah.
basically. And we're looking at recreating that. Um, and but right now we just have, as Janine calls it, the Trump brand stirring things up. Like,
Hmm.
that is an agitator. The agitation is what's needed right now to just get all the gunk up from the bottom, right? And
Hmm.
it's going to be a bit of a slow process to redetermine, um, reconstitute literally our republics and councils of leadership as opposed to elite hierarchies of leadership. So
Yeah.
there we go.
Yeah. Awesome. Oh, that was the nope. That was
Okay.
okay. So Dawn has her a weekly question coming in here. How do we deal with the current astrological energies? That combined with the geopolitical energies is very difficult.
Oh,
Or
okay. We're
learn.
just going to pop these two right down, Don. I don't think we even need to go any further. So the narrative is, like, I love that you're asking about astrology, because I want everybody to stop. Take a breath, everybody. Big breath. I'll recognize that this is astrology has been one of the major frequency directing tools that's been used by the elites for centuries.
Mhm.
So it was so highly guarded that, you would be like, this is a lot of the things like the inquisitions and stuff. It was to preserve so that only the elites had access to that
Mm.
very powerful information. What is powerful about it? What is so powerful about knowing planetary alignments, knowing what happens up there is going to create experiences down here?
Mhm.
What's powerful about that? Why did our ancient ancestors create clocks in the on the landscape, so that they were sure that they were paying attention? They didn't have necessarily, certainly most of them probably didn't have a version of a computer, or even, um, you know, guarded manuscripts that had the precession of the equinoxes and all the different astrological configurations and what they mean. It's like a decoding system, right?
Yeah.
So they created these megalithic sacred sites as the decoding system right there. Like, it wasn't in the hands of the elite, because any person could walk to that site, watch where the sun rose and set throughout the seasons of the year, and be like, I know exactly what day it is.
Yeah.
And then they could look up in the sky with their own two eyes, right? And they could see, oh, I see that constellation here. And then they could tell mythologies and create stories about what that meant. What does it mean when the sun rises here on that day, when the constellation that is up there? That is how they oral histories translated that information, so that people knew that it was a record of our evolution. And it was, these were all kind of like milestone marker stones to say, okay, humanity, you're ready now for this. Guess what? If we don't know that, if the elite have blocked us from having that information and have stolen all the oral histories that allowed us to interpret with our own eyes for literally thousands of years, I would think about 8,000 years, that's been kept from us. It's now back in the hands of everyone that can access a computer. Everybody. It's back in our court. And it's, it is a bit of a courtship. So it's not meant, Dawn, to scare you. It's meant to empower you with personal strength. To say, right now, Meg says, blah, blah, blah. I think if you're just going with scary stuff like, oh my gosh, this is going to happen, and then this is going to happen, and then look what's going on. You're talking about the geopolitical, and then, oh, that means it's going to get worse. If you can see, I really encourage you to listen to a variety of astrologers that bring the larger evolutionary perspective to this. This is exactly what we've designed.
Truly.
We're ready for this. This is perfect timing.
Yeah.
It's not meant to disempower you. It's meant to empower you. So it's you saying, if you're not feeling empowered, perhaps expand your scope of exploration in astrology so that you can see the larger cycles within cycles and notice, oh, this is actually showing that we are empowering ourselves. The fact that we know this stuff, it's not just so we can hide out and
wait for the
barricade the walls and barricade the windows and this is so we can say, why would it be necessary for the cabal to keep control of that information? Because if we know it, we can engineer our lives, and we can literally reverse engineer from what's coming 6 months from now, a year from now. We can be like, okay, the markets will shift like this. This is going to happen here. We're going to invest over here. We're going to take this moment to rest, recuperate, do some personal healing. It's being able to strategize and look at that. The spiritual frequency. We're back to frequency. Yep. Do you have something to say about this one?
Yeah, what was I going to say there? Sorry, I did have something in my mind and then I lost it.
What's underneath it?
Yeah. The sun card. For sure. I mean, I know what I was going to say. Whew. Okay, so I was speaking to I had a lovely weekend this weekend, lots of beautiful dancing, and I'm getting out and being social and speaking with some really lovely people. And on one hand, a lot of them are awake and have a lot of awareness. And you see that there's when you have this awareness, there's you could really focus on the information that's been given to us that feels particularly when layered and combined with all of these different perspectives, can feel very difficult. And that's also a snapshot of difficulty. And there is always the law of balance. We look at this woman here at the strength card. She's got the infinity symbol above her head there. And she has learned that balance of natural law, say, where just as much darkness equals just as much light. And so could we say that the opportunity of understanding that there is these difficult layerings, there is these difficult astrological times, and they're going to be there, but where's the light that also meets that difficulty equally? So it's an opportunity always to find the opportunity, that to find the strength, to find, I mean, look at these cards,
yeah,
right? Look
it's
at
just
these layouts.
it's
Like,
unreal. It's unreal. Like
so
the
positive.
sun, the strength card, the world, 3 of
Mhm.
cups, Knight of Cups, 2
Mhm.
pages, Wands and Pentacles, and then the
Mhm.
spiritual warrior, and at the end of the line going, this is where we're going. This is frequency upgrade.
Yeah.
I heard the guides say there's a frequency upgrade on planet party. There's a frequency upgrade party on planet Earth over the next 3 years, and you're all invited.
Yeah.
What do you need to do to be ready to go to a frequency upgrade party? If
I
somebody
would
invited you,
say even more so, because we're kind of coming out of the what do I need to do, and we're coming more into the who do I need to be. And so who do I need to be ready for a frequency upgrade party, you know? And it's just these little shifts that are, these difficulties are the invitation for us to come into our highest purpose, higher purpose possibilities. Like, what is the invitation to look at what's on the other side of this spectrum here?
I feel like there's a very important point here, Dawn.
Point it.
And what I'm hearing very, very specifically for all of you listening is frequency is it's your barometer.
Mm-hmm.
And what does it mean if you watch news and it freaks you out and makes you upset? What does that mean? Because some people watch some of that news and it revs their engines, it makes them like full of piss and vinegar, and maybe at one point it did that for you, right? Like that was what you're like, oh my gosh, it was catalytic, right? A lot of the news is catalytic. It's even the way it's spun, even on the truther channels. Bless our souls, all of us. It's like, it's not a bad thing, but it's a little bit like sounding the alarm bells, like beating that war drum, bung, 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 bung. It's like, to the point to kind of wake you up and get you in gear. It's interesting. I notice now I literally go in and watch things, like I'll have suddenly this message going, watch such and such. I'll watch it, and I almost invariably, it's the thing that, yeah, there's depressing stuff, but there's a little nugget in there that just lights me up and makes me go, yep, I'm on the right track. If it's not doing that to you at the moment, it doesn't mean you're failing or the situation is so dire it's depressing. What it means is that your energy, you're being invited to be a frequency worker, not an information processor. You're being actually invited. The reason it's making you not feel good, that it's difficult for you, is because it's no longer the work, your frontline work. You're being asked to work in a different department. You're being asked to work in we're having a frequency party and let's get ready for that. You're no longer in the intel front trench. There's people that's where their next assignment is. They're going to be lining up and going in and jumping in that seat, the seat that you kept warm, but you got something waiting for you somewhere else, which is you're being called to do a different type of upgrading for planet Earth. So if it's upsetting you, I'm not shaming you that you're upset about it. Of course, any one of us, when we're coming from our sensitive, empathic, healing self, is going to be upset by that. And if that's the effect it's having on you, you're in the wrong department right now. It doesn't mean you're bad and the news is wrong. It means then that news is going to be useful for people. That's the department they're meant to be activating in right now.
Yeah,
Do you get
and
that, Crystal?
yeah, and I mean, maybe not the wrong department, but maybe the wrong use of the information. And wrong is also a challenging word. Like, it's just like the invitation to upgrade how you're using the information, and what you do with it. Like, I have a hard time watching a lot of these channels and absorbing a lot of this information. I know that my purpose is much more interwoven with being an observation of relationship and human dynamics, and I spend a lot more time researching that stuff, watching podcasts about it, taking in information, speaking to everyone about relationship dynamics and interpersonal things, and that revs me up. And that's something that I feel like I can do something with all this information that I'm gathering. And it lends to my purpose. And then I collect information as I talk to people about the geopolitical arenas and everything that is happening in our world. Enough that I can speak to that. I mean, I've got a beautiful mother and all of you that give me the tidbits that I need and can follow that. So just being aware continuously of tuning in with, like, okay, does this energy provide me the strength and the spiritual path to step forward on this journey? Or is this throwing my nervous system continuously out of resonance and not allowing me to feel really joyous about stepping out into the world and into this information?
Yes. I'm hearing, thank you, Crystal. I'm hearing the words, we call it spiritually bypassing. If we just go, oh, well, I don't want to, I just want to pretend none of that's happening. And I'm going to live over here in my little fantasy bubble and just focus on, unicorns and rainbows. And that is not what I'm referring to. What I'm referring to, they're saying we actually bypass around the impasse. So when you are in an impasse, it means that you've come to a point in yourself where this is not lighting you up anymore. This is not, it's actually making you feel more and more afraid, worried, discouraged, disempowered. That's what we call a spiritual impasse. You're not bypassing permanently. Okay, I'm done with ever ingesting any intel. I don't want to look at truth or stuff. I don't want to know the astrology. It freaks me out. It scares me. You're not saying I'm going to bypass that and I'm shutting that door and I'm never walking back. You're just going around. You've got an impasse right now. There's a blockage. There's something there where it's no longer being metabolized by your being. So give yourself a break. Bypass that. Bypass around the impasse and see where that takes you. My suspicion, my sense is that for all of us, we get drawn back to that information at the exact right moment. And it's going to make magic for us. We're going to be like, oh, now I know exactly what to do with that thing about Canada. I know exactly what to do with that piece of information. I know who to tell. I know what angle to express it to when I'm talking to friends and family. If you're in an impasse, don't keep banging your head against it because you hurt yourself.
And it also comes into the simplicity of knowing how to work with our energy and our nervous system as it shifts. And I know that sometimes, watching these shows can be very supportive, can be very uplifting, can be like, oh my gosh, this is exciting. And so, of course, we're going to go back and look for that. And even sometimes the stuff that seems challenging, you could be excited about it. But then there's times when all of a sudden the intake of that has activated something in the nervous system and then in our emotional realm. And that's when we get the, like Leo says, let's dance, ladies. Like, that's when we get the opportunity to go, whoo, this stirred me up. how can I get up? How can I move my body? How can I transmute this out of my system a little bit so that it doesn't feel so difficult as we take the journey? That is kind of, the astrological and the political stuff is going to continue to journey around us, regardless of what you do with it in your living room to a certain extent. So move it through your body.
Yeah. I love that, Crystal. We're back to frequency, right?
Yeah.
Like, so if it's an impasse, you're bypassing around it, but you're also integrating the resistance through frequency movement, bringing yourself back to a place of peace in your body, mind, and spirit. And that's a great, triple great, they're saying, active service to the collective, to humanity, and to our earth, Dawn. That is your gift. Your way back to frequency, compassion, peace, purpose, activation, curiosity, your way back to your own magic is no one else is going to find their way back the way you will. None of us. So we can all give you little clues, what works for us. You're going to figure out your own unique path back to that. And once you do, that's the drum that you'll be beating at the revolution
party
frequency upgrade party.
Yeah. I love it. Sounds like we're planning a frequency upgrade party.
I guess.
Party people.
All right. Let's go to our next question.
We have another one from Suzanne. I'm just making sure that I've got all of the other
ones. That's an interesting one about Melina being a Romanov.
We've got a two here.
About Russia.
Yeah.
Let's put those two in.
Yeah.
Is Melina a Romanov and will play a role in the future of Russia? Ooh.
Yeah, that's interesting. Any thoughts, Mom?
No thoughts.
No thoughts. Hurry up and shuffle, Crystal.
You're so cute.
Thanks, Mama. Got it from my mama.
Crystal's got a little bit of Russian ancestry, Ukrainian ancestry.
Ukrainian. Possibly Polish. It's a great mystery. But I'm proud of it.
So let's go. Is she a Romanov on this side? And will she play a role in the future of Russia on this side? Okay, so I think she has a claim to that lineage, but it's pretty far removed, is what I'm getting. It's like 5 times removed or something. It's not close enough to really. I think it's close enough to be a frequency match, but it's not close enough legally to be recognized, if that makes sense, is what I'm getting. But interesting, you asked, is she going to play a role in the future Russia? And it's definitely, this is, among other things, the 7 of Wands has to do with weaving two sides together. You notice how he's literally like straddling the divide there. And again, it is like a little bit like mediation or something. And then will she play a role? Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Oh, yeah. It's almost like she has the demeanor that really resonates with, she can get into the hearts of the Russian people. I really feel like she could be diplomatically effective there.
Yeah, so not so much a ruler, but definitely playing a role as a connector. Yeah. And
interesting, even her son may have a role more. So we could be seeing the next generation
coming in. Yeah.
It's interesting because this is a love match. So I wonder if there could be some kind of like
marriage.
Yep.
All right. You heard it here. People. Curious if Putin will turn and deceive the White Hats, per Kim
Clementine's prophecy. Yeah.
Well, I don't know much about the prophecy, but let's have a look. See.
So let's actually lay out a question, answer, past, present, future spread for this. It's all the middle cards today.
All
We're
right.
taking the middle path. Well, we're curious, and it looks like there's a lot of smoke and mirrors here.
It's a little fuzzy.
Oh, it's because I've got this in there. It's too close for comfort. Oh, is he going to deceive them? I don't. That does not look like. This almost looks more like being a role model.
I was going to say bring him in a new way. Yeah.
I think there's a lot of chess maneuvers going on, and he's definitely looks like he's deceiving, but in the long run, I mean, he certainly is. He's sovereign, right? This is the sovereignty card. So he doesn't need as much alliance. Like everyone else needs Russia more than Russia needs everyone else, is what I'm kind of getting. But that doesn't mean that he's dangerous or deceptive. I just think that he's strategically playing
both sides,
like offensive defense is what I'm getting.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, very, very diplomatic, very shrewd. So his coolness could be misread as deception, but this is a very integral card, this 9 of Pentacles. And he, you know, what he doesn't mind doing is waiting it out. He's got a lot of like, he's just kind of like, well, he's proven that, hasn't he, in the way he's handled the situation in Ukraine. It's just like he's willing to let things wait. He's thinking beyond his lifetime, which is very few. Even our wonderful DT is not thinking beyond his lifetime very much. Like there's a lot of like long-term patience here, and a real sense of sovereign identity of what is, you know, what is the motherland? What is motherland Russia? Like they have a good sense of themselves, and they haven't, you know, all the turmoil, even over the last couple of 100 years, has just brought them clearer in that, is what I'm getting. So, yeah, I just almost get that he's quite, the whole approach is, it could look deceptive, but it's really more
perceptive.
Yeah. Good point, Crystal. Good way of saying it. And he's got good boundaries. He's acting in a way like a mature elder here. There's not a ton of compassion, but watch what he does. You know, like watch his actions. He's not a sweet talker. And he says what he means and he does what he says, but there's not a lot of like muss and fuss. So this feels very kind
like not a lot of sugarcoating or overdoing it. It's, yeah.
So I don't get
to the point and the long game. Yeah.
I don't get a deceiving. I get more not, you know, kind of operating on a different level. and it could be perceived as deception. Yeah. Where are we at?
Yeah.
We got one more?
Yeah.
Let's do one more.
Once again, from time travel. See if sovereignty did
Someone's
anyone else that sovereign beat journalism in the Kentucky Derby race this weekend? Okay.
Can we go up a little bit further?
Yeah. Give us just a moment, everyone.
Putin was switched. Let's try that one.
I think original Putin was switched out some time ago. This current Putin is a chess piece of the world.
That's a good point.
That feeling of Putin.
Okay.
So I have one more question from Susanna here about are horns of a material that multiplies.
Aw, that's interesting.
Always interesting.
Yeah. Okay. So, well, it's interesting you're speaking about the material of horns, because when we look at all of the satanic images, and it's always the horned god, Baphomet, Satan, the devil energy, Pan, the nature god. It's always it's always a character with horns, and the sign of Capricorn is the goat with horns. So what I'm getting with all of that is it relates to zip those as well for a bit there, Crystal. It relates to like old world, the let's just say our very mammalian ancient
Every time to be.
oh
Sorry, y'all.
they're flying. Those cards are flipping away.
Maybe I'm just need some practice here.
For some reason,
They're new and slippery.
For some reason, I have this funny memory of Crystal when she got frozen shoulder a few years back, and
My brother.
she told her brother, she was like, "Yeah, I've got really bad frozen shoulder," and he's like, "What'd you get that from? Shuffling your tarot cards too hard?"
My brother is such.
This is her brother on her dad's side.
Hilarious, like rude, mean, sarcastic sense of humor, and he's so funny. I find him really funny. I mean, what a little smart ass, hey?
Yeah.
You can't help
it's funny because we're talking about this energy of the horns and that, the devilish, bedeviled energy, which is the trickster, Pan, the pagan. It's all of that, let's just say it's not necessarily the most evolved high conscious energy, but it is sort of like the animal aspect of our nature.
Well, so the question there being of are horns of a material that multiplies reception of frequencies.
Oh, totally. Look at
is
that.
This why shamans, etc., are wearing them through the ages in all cultures, right?
That, talk about a reception card. This is literally like moving out of troubled water through communication. So, it's even interesting because I think it's very similar material than our hair and also than shells. And you remember, how you would put a shell up to your ear to listen to the sound of the ocean. There is even the shape of a horn. And when you think about in the that old image of the phonograph player with its horn that amplifies, right? So that cone shape is what amplifies energy. So I think it's not just the material, but it's the shape that literally amplifies it, like sends out frequencies.
So it's a receptor and amplifier.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Look at that. Oh, I feel like it was used in weather, working with weather as well. because when I see the rainbow there, I often think about weather. And I think that it was used to move clouds, rain.
Yeah, I kept thinking about also consuming our liquids out of horns, which was really interesting, quite an interesting vessel to hold this sacred
Frequency.
Yeah.
The frequency and, you know, and even the way they grow, because they grow in a spiral. So it's not just the material they're made out of. It's the shape. It's the way they grow.
Like, I don't know, like, it's so interesting, right? Like, of all the things back in the day that the Vikings or whatever could have drank out of, and they chose horns to drink
Yeah,
out
and
of,
they had
there's
horns
gotta
on
be-
their,
Yeah.
you know, the image of them anyway, whether they
Yeah.
wore that or not, but maybe that was just spiritual regalia. But yeah, I feel like it's not just representative of the animal nature. It's also something about like having, well, even the witches' caps, right? They were tall pointed caps. It was, the idea was that you were like literally channeling information from source, universal energy, down in that cone shape. So I think the shape is as important as the material. But the material is also relatively important because it is related to our nails, our hair, and so
Yeah, I
on.
mean, you would imagine too, like if when oftentimes when we think of spirals, we see the spiral like in a flat, you know, slice where it's just an image of a spiral. But then when we think of the actual shape that a spiral probably makes, right?
It's
is
a
that
cone shape.
Yeah, it's a cone shape. It moves up and it grows larger and larger and amplifies. So I like it.
Fun horn question, Maria says.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah, fun. We like fun questions
We
like
do.
that. Yeah,
And
yeah.
who knows? Like maybe there's something
Totally.
significant in that. Like it's brought us back to the beginning, which is about frequency. And you know, our ancient ancestors, we can say, oh, well, they walked around and, you know, put a horn on their head or whatever. And it's like, or carried them on their belt or drank out of them. And it's like, oh, big deal, right? Like, gosh, they could have got something a lot nicer at IKEA, but it's like, but maybe they knew something. Like maybe we're missing some natural technologies that are right in front of us that the ancients utilized regularly without even questioning them. And because we downplay the significance of these things, we miss a lot of potential frequency resonant healing metabolizing possibilities, right? So I think we're back to the beginning of this live talking about even the utilizing the astrology, whatever is available to us. You know, and I wonder about, we think about, oh yeah, we'd be okay to step into a med bed to upgrade our frequency, but maybe we wouldn't be okay to put like, you know, a horn in our ear and like, or whatever, it's like, or drink our
walk around horn.
or drink something out of a cup that's made out of an animal horn because you're like, ooh, that's weird and like kind of pagan and maybe like what? Well, why were those things so deeply like excommunicated from the church narrative, right? Like if they're so whatever, just some kind of animal part, what's the big deal? But obviously there's medicine and magic hidden right in plain sight. And if it's that accessible, maybe we should learn to reconnect with some of those ancient technologies. I mean, maybe if you feel like it. Any last words, Crystal?
Thank you all for being here. Hello, Tarot by Luco. Thank you
Crown
for
of Horns.
spending this Tuesday evening with us as well.
Aww.
All the way over in the UK over there. And please, if you have stayed tuned for this long, please like, share, and subscribe to our videos. And yeah, in terms of sharing them, like share them share them ahead of time when we post, share them with your people, share that this is an exciting thing that you do, and invite your friends and your family, if they're open to it, to come and to join us, because it's so lovely to connect with all of you and to spend this time. The more the merrier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And next week I will be doing, I just want to check my calendar here and make sure I've got the right time that I'm doing this. I think it's next Monday. So before our next live, I'm going to be doing an interview, a live interview with one of my clients that is functional medicine naturopathic doctor. And she's talking a lot about metabolic health. And so I think we're all struggling with metabolic health because it's connected to our liver and our gut and other organs. And we're all under so much stress environmentally and parasite loads and all that kind of stuff. So she's just got some really great insights and good steps to take to learn more about how to analyze your own state of metabolic health. So I'm going to bring her on for an interview. Like I said, that's going to be next Monday, and you'll see the thumbnail coming up here in the next couple of days, so you can join us for that.
Super.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wonderful. Some exciting interviews coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much. Have a blessed week. See you next time.
Bye for now, everybody.
Bye for now.